How do you ensure that from a technology perspective you're starting that process?
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about my company is it was built by a bunch of people outside of advertising, so that's probably why it started off being transparent, because they didn't understand the way otherwise. So, and actually you can do it, but it's quite challenging, because ultimately you have to optimize to slightly different way, perhaps, in terms of where you operate your campaigns. I mean, I think the big problem with digital is everyone's obsessed by the small percentage of people who click on an ad, and we've developed technology around that, which is basically being, footballers hanging around the goal and just waiting to kick in and take credit for it, and not do the bit in the middle. And that's encouraged, I think, some of the types of technologies, and therefore the lack of transparency that goes with it. So we actually provide log files. If someone wants a log file of every single ad they bought, they can have one from us. And there's no reason why other platforms can't do that. But the trouble is, if they provide that, then potentially it opens up a whole load of other questions about how they got to where they got to and why they bought that.
But they do if it's in a disclosed deal. If it's in an undisclosed deal, you get zilch. In other words, if you've opted into one of these deals, you do not get any of that data at all. Even though the log files technically are available, you get no access to them at all. So the first one of the things that advertisers got to ask themselves is, do I want to go for a totally transparent model, or do I want to take the apparent benefits of an untransparent model on an opt-in basis? And we say, be very careful with that, because if you don't know anything about where your advertising is going, what it costs, who it's reached, then you're just taking a cheaper price, and cheaper price does not mean effectiveness.
Mm-hmm. And how are you finding that when you're talking, from your perspectives? Obviously, in certain climates, going cheaper is obviously an option with procurement companies, procurement departments that you don't really have much of a say in. How are you kind of fighting back against your bosses that say, we want to go for the cheaper option, and you have to say, well, actually, we need to be more transparent, so we shouldn't be going for that option. How far along the line are we in terms of education from that sense?
I think we are, in that sense, lucky within our company that it's not procurement driving those decisions. It's business that's driving decisions, because we need to show results to our CMO, and that result is not just efficiency but effectiveness of the investments. It's business, and business is, as long as business is driving, I don't think cost is the only issue. And over a period of time, our procurement teams have also realized that driving just on cost will not help them. So the metrics that they're using go beyond cost now.
Yeah, same for us. Procurement don't negotiate those deals, because they tend to have a cost-saving objective, right? That's what their business objective isn't the commercial objective that we're trying to achieve. So we don't let them touch it. Secondly, I think it comes back to the effectiveness of the piece, right? We've got to be clear about what we want to achieve, and then we should find the best way of achieving our business results. And I'd rather spend more but ensure I'm getting the right result, because otherwise I'm not going to move the needle on my commercial objectives I'm trying to achieve. So it just comes back to understanding what you want to achieve, what's the most effective way of getting there, and as you say, if you buy cheap, you buy twice, right? If you buy cheap, it's not going to move the needle. I'm not going to sell any more cameras or printers or whatever it is. So ultimately, measuring the effectiveness is really, really important, but it shouldn't just be about the money. And also, as your point earlier, if we keep driving everything down, then we're driving everyone to the wrong behaviour, because everyone's saying, well, I don't earn enough money. So there's got to be enough money for everyone to make it work.
Yeah, people just need to be prepared to pay for quality. We've driven price down and you've gotten shit, right? So pay a little more, you get the quality, and you get the right business outcomes.
Yeah. And there is a realization also within the company, at least I can speak for ourselves, is that driving costs down does not get the best out of partners. We have done that for years and years, be it the agency partners or other tech partners. You are trying to provide them absolute business sense to be able to partner up with you, and then they are driving value for you. Also with agency partners, it has been till now, I think, a race to the activation part of it. So as fast as they can get that money out with publishers, they have made their whatever dollars or euros or whatever you may call it. But now we are trying to support agency partners to add value in the upper part of the funnel, in the strategic work that they do with us, because that is where I think they see that they can incrementally add value, and we see that that's something that possibly we will never be able to get to the level of information, data, industry knowledge that they have and competence. So we are able to leverage that for ourselves rather than just activating for us.
This is where the whole 60 cents in a dollar thing comes in, because that gets paid whether the advertising appears or not, or is effective or not. That's the problem with the online display supply chain, is that everyone's making money irrespective of whether the advertising works. And that's the inverse of the traditional model, where people used to do well when the client did well. So the publisher did well, media owners did well, media agencies did well, and everybody else benefited from that. At the moment, it's been completely tipped over, and that's the thing that needs to be reversed.